Hello and welcome to Threads from the Wheel. I'm Monica. This is my co-host, Heather.
I'm Heather.
It's been a minute since we've done this, so a little bit rusty. I was actually looking up, it's been a year.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought
Yeah,
it's longer, actually. It feels like forever.
yeah. Hubby tried to watch the first episode of the show and was like, "I'm so lost. I don't know what anything is, who anything is, what's going on. It's been too long."
Yeah. I rewatched the last episode of season two before diving in because exactly what you said. I don't remember.
I was gonna do that, and then they dropped the episodes early, and I just didn't get to
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, they dropped it early, and then I had crazy stuff going on at work, and yeah, the planets were not aligned.
No.
Okay, well, let's delve into it. Season three, episode one, To Race the Shadow. First impressions.
The opening was amazing, but
Hmm.
after the title sequence felt a little sluggish. But that's just my opinion.
Well, when you have such an action-packed scene right there at the jump, that's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, it's
So,
almost an oddity of editing. Let's start with the action and then take it down.
uh, so yeah, a couple of favorite lines. She has a plan for the Reds. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, she does.
Leandrin will speak, but you will not hear her.
And just flat out barring the Reds from the hall. Yeah, that has got to be against Tower law somewhere, but guess not in the show.
Tradition only we only need 11.
Tradition what?
Tradition says we only need 11 sitters.
That is true. That is
That's
true.
what she said.
Yeah, you don't need the full hall, but that is very different from saying, not you.
You and you okay, but you go.
Yeah, very different things there. Um, when she says the hall calls Nynaeve Almera to the floor, I was like, "You are so screwed, lady."
Leandrin looked for a second like she was going to have what we call a come apart,
Yeah,
but
yeah. She tried to, and then Nynaeve. Oh well, I tried.
well, she basically was trying to tell on Swan for letting
Yeah,
Rand go.
yeah. And she wasn't lying. That's the really funny
And
part.
she wasn't lying. Swan never proved that she could break the three oaths by lying.
But when she outed herself by attacking her fellow sisters in the hall of the tower for crying out loud.
Well, yeah, there's that. That's a sort of a dead giveaway.
Yeah, and one of the dark oaths is to not reveal yourself till the hour of your death. So either that isn't one of them here, or she really thought she was about to die.
The look, the way she was injured after she came down from being
Hmm.
jacked up in the sky,
Yeah.
she didn't look healthy, so she may have thought she was gonna die.
But no, that was after she initiated the attack. She started that fight.
Well, yeah, she kind of had to because
I,
she couldn't deny it.
yeah, she could. Because she can
Well,
lie. Because she's Black Aja.
no one would have believed her. What bothered me about that scene was all the sitters just sitting there watching everything happen, and it took so long for them to react and start fighting back.
Um, so in the books, at least, the Black Aja is a rumor. There are plenty of sisters who refuse to believe it's even possible for an Aes Sedai to be a dark friend.
Uh,
So,
Heaven forbid. Or excuse me, light forbid.
yeah, light forbid they be human. Um, so that it was probably a game of wait, who, what, huh?
Oh,
What do you,
oh,
what do you mean? No, no, that's not real. What, huh?
maybe it was like a, oh my gosh, maybe this really is true.
Yeah, and then Leandrin
It,
let the cat out of the bag. Hmm.
I'll be nice about that one.
uh, and Suan demanding that she give up all the Black Sisters.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
that
the
that
most she can
was
do is three
that was not
because
going to happen. Well, she might be able to do more because she was at that meeting in the first episode, season one.
that was too long ago. Okay, that was just too long ago.
I remembered something Monica didn't. Mark
Oh
it on
well,
your calendars, folks, because that's probably never going to happen again.
oh, it's only going to get worse because as things get more complicated and as things deviate more from the books, although they are doing a really good job this season of not deviating. They're doing it differently. They're condensing a lot of things, but these first four episodes, I was like, that's straight out of the books. That's straight out of the books. That's straight out of the books. That's a little different, but straight out of the books. So they're
Good.
doing a really good job of that this season. Um,
I did see an interview with Rafe. He wrote episode 4, which
mm,
I'm dying to get to. So let's get moving.
okay, okay. And the fact that Nynaeve couldn't channel during that, I'm like,
You would think she would be so mad seeing Leandrin there that she'd just let her have it.
being Leandrin, and then people dying in battle. That's one of her absolute triggers. I mean, that pisses her off faster than anything. The only thing that makes sense is she was too afraid to be mad.
Either that or she, part of her does like Leandrin because Leandrin kind of took her under her wing and
Yeah,
talked to her a little bit more and a little bit more humanly than
some of the others, yeah.
some of the others.
Yeah. It, it's
Yeah.
it's complicated. That's not something I saw myself saying about Leandrin.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I still don't like her. I never
Oh,
have.
I like her more in the series than I did in the books.
They've done more to explain why she's like she is.
Yes, they've done anything at all to explain why she is the way she is.
Oh,
And
so she's just
a
a
nightmare.
witch, a
Yeah,
witch in the books. Okay.
yeah. And that's the way it is with a lot of the characters, especially the ones you are meant to hate. There's no explanation. There's no nothing. It's just, yeah, this person's nasty. What you gonna do about it?
Okay. So there's no gray. No
There is
morally
plenty
gray.
of gray. There is very little explanation as to how this person got here.
Okay.
You can see when a person is a mix of light and dark, but you don't often see how they got there.
Okay. Makes sense.
Um, the more I'm watching the show, the more I'm realizing Jordan was not very good at show don't tell. He told a lot. for example, this fight scene didn't happen on screen, so to speak. It
On the
happened
page.
before Egwene and Nynaeve got back to the tower.
Mm.
So they learn about it after the fact. And it wasn't them, it wasn't any Leandrin getting called out as black. It was Leandrin and the 12 others sneaking around, stealing ter'angreal, and murdering servants and sisters and whoever they came across in their escape in the middle of the night.
Mm.
It was much more low key than this. So, anyway, um, and the warders not letting those red sisters in. I'm like, just because they're red doesn't mean they're black just because Leandrin is. You might not like them. That doesn't make them Black Aja. There's a difference. Like in Harry
Yeah.
Potter, just because someone's a jerk doesn't make them a Death Eater.
Well, it was weird that they didn't try and get in the doors as soon as they
Earlier.
heard the fighting start. Any of them, much less the Aes Sedai, who beat a hasty retreat once the battle started. They
Mhm.
came back, but they were gone for a minute there.
Yeah, well, they had been told they weren't allowed in the meeting, and so they just walked off. And I'm like, you're not even going to stick around outside the door? Anyway, um,
You would think they would have their little magic hand up against the door to hear.
that is possible. There are words against it. Though in the books, at least, those weaves have not been rediscovered yet.
Hmm.
Uh, oh, and the Browns going down to the 13th depository.
Yeah, I wrote that as Warehouse 13.
Yes. Uh, one of them said, I didn't think it existed. Woman, you are a librarian. I'm sorry, you're going to tell me there's part of the library you didn't think existed? No. The Brown sisters, because they're the ones in charge of it,
Yeah.
the sitters of the hall, the keeper of chronicles, and the Amerlin Seat are the only ones who know of its existence. There's no rumor. You're either one of these people, and you know, or you don't. Uh, I- but that's more of a them just cutting to the chase on this not being common knowledge. And in the books, the 13th depository is just books. The items of power are kept separate. But again, they're consolidating, they're trying to get through things faster. So, okay, fine. Um, the IDOM bracelet.
That was interesting. I mean, they showed that twice. So that was a clue to pay attention to this. And
In the books, at least, it was an Aes Sedai who created the first one. Mm-hmm.
as I drip water on myself. Wow.
So, yeah. Um, how old is this?
Well, we find out later,
Uh, yeah, yeah,
kind of. Maybe not
yeah,
its exact age, but we find out it's not like from
yeah.
assumption.
Um, what was your reaction to finding out the brown sister was black?
Naomi,
Thank you. I forgot to write it down. Yes, Naomi.
she didn't strike me as. I mean, we only saw her like once or twice in the last couple of
Yeah.
seasons, but that never.
No, and I don't remember her being a character in the books.
And I've got
Um,
questions about Varen, but
yeah.
this girl never even hit my radar to be
No,
sketched out about.
no. And Leandrin telling the others link with me. They work really well together for Dark Friends. Um, Dark Friends have a basic mistrust of each other because they're Dark Friends. Of course you don't bloody trust them. Um, it's odd. It's convenient, is what it is. Um,
Well, it's a form of plot armor. You've got
plot
to
what?
be a plot armor.
Yeah. Um, and then the fight goes out into the streets, and Maxim and Ivan almost take Leandrin's head.
Oh, that would have been so beautiful. I was so hopeful, so hopeful. And
It's a more fitting end in the books, and I'm still
apparently,
have my fingers crossed.
apparently, Alana. I know the actress was part of Bollywood,
Oh, okay.
so a lot of her movements are from that. And
Okay.
her the way her body moves and
Hmm.
the way she was, channeling and her fight stances and stuff was straight out of Bollywood, but she's also a heck of an acrobat, apparently.
Hmm.
She's flipping through the streets
Yeah. Yeah.
and tearing people up.
Hmm. And speaking of Alana, Maxim. No, it was Ivan.
Ivan.
Ivan was the one who passed.
Her warders did what they were supposed to do
That was their
to,
job.
protected her. And
Yeah. All Secret Service style.
Ivan paid the ultimate price, and Leandrin is an even bigger witch.
Oh, hmm.
Her bee just keeps getting bigger.
Um, I kind of saw it coming. I didn't want it to happen. Um, in the books, um, she did start off with two orders, but it was Maxim and Owen, and we never actually met Owen. He was killed by White Cloaks just before they got to the Two Rivers. Um, so yeah, she's still left, you know, in the same boat, just different cause. Uh, so the fighting in the street and Suan getting caught.
It was bizarre to see that she came down from the tower herself to try and stop these girls.
Ah,
And she was pretty.
she would not have been allowed to put herself in danger like that. But
She did what she wanted to do, and it's pretty amazing for it.
oh yeah, oh yeah. And then the tower, other tower, falling down on her, almost.
Yeah,
And they're like,
I'm watching that bell tower start to come down, and all of a sudden it's floating. I'm like, oh, Moraine. I
"Oh, you
knew,
picked up on it
I
quicker than I
knew,
did."
I knew it was her
I,
because they had seen each other earlier, or she had
Moraine
seen
was
her.
staring at the tower, but she didn't actually see Swan.
Okay, that's when she did see her. She was staring at the tower,
Yeah.
but you kind of knew if Moraine's in town, she's going to be keeping an eye, and she was worried about what was going to happen at the tower that day. Because
Yeah.
Lan told her it'll be okay, and she's
Yeah.
like, it's not
Today
about
isn't
her
about
anyway.
her. Um, and then it stopped and I'm like, okay, get out from under the rubble. It's not going to stay in midair forever, woman.
Well, she was shielded. She did have that web of.
Yes, that doesn't mean she can't walk or run. Only means she can't channel. Um, so yeah, then we see it's Moraine. Aw. Um, I was pleasantly surprised at the lack of locals out in the streets. And that might have been a budget issue of extras.
It probably was, but also think about it. You're in your shop, buying some tea or whatever, and you hear commotion out in the street. You look out the window and you start seeing women fighting each other. You're like, I'm just going to stay here. I'm good. I'm out of this. This doesn't concern me whatsoever.
There is that. There is also, I'm going to get as far away from this as possible.
Yeah.
Which would have led people out to be out in the streets. Uh, right or wrong, I mean, it is a different, also very human reaction. So, but yeah, it's probably budget. Um, so then Lan finds the warders, and then Nynaeve.
Make sure she's okay.
Oh yes, he has to go find Nynaeve.
Of course.
And that's just the intro.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like over 10 minutes till the
Oh,
title.
more like 20.
Was it?
Yeah, yeah, it was like 17 or 18 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't think it
I
was that
hadn't
long.
thought to compare it to other intros. But yeah, it was a long one. So then we have the Emmons Field 5 at the inn. Um, and Loyal. I love Loyal. Why does she always want to leave at dawn? Why not after a hearty breakfast?
Breakfast.
That line.
And Moraine warns them, keep a low profile. Cover your hair, ladies. That red hair.
Besides, do they listen?
Leave your spears. Put your spears down.
Hide your
Don't let
weapons.
people see them.
Disguise you.
No, not
Oh, no, 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 no.
not a
That would
one
be
of those things was
logical.
done. Not one of those things was done.
No.
Those kids are all dummies.
Um, Baron and Matt. What do you think my chances are? With what? With Gael girls. They hate you, Matt.
We see his chances buried in his skin
Oh,
later.
Matt has been more Matt in these 4 episodes.
To be honest, I didn't like Matt until episode 3.
Oh.
I found him annoying.
Oh, he can be very annoying.
But he won me over in episode 3.
Okay, we'll get there.
Yeah.
And Rand telling the Aiel to leave as is a very common statement in the books. The Kara is not a Wetlander king. AKA, you not the boss of me. And this is even before he proves he's the Kara. So he has even less pull now.
You have not earned that title.
Mm-hmm. And even once he does, it's still they don't give a shit. It in the tavern. It's like, Matt, can you call yourself the Horn Sounder and Rand the Dragon Reborn any
Any
louder?
louder.
Talk
Having
about
his
wanting to strangle
portrait
that
with
idiot child.
having his portrait done with the horn. He's holding the horn.
And Rand looking down, seeing himself, he's like, there's not enough ale in the world to deal with this.
And he tells Red, you've got your dragon head up your dragon backside. Loudly, so loudly that a dude over by the window turns around and looks at him like,
Oh, I missed that. I was too busy screaming at Matt.
you dummy.
Yes. Blood and ashes, like forsaken idiot. Goat kissing Trolloc. Um, oh. And then they start talking about Rand and Egwene.
So,
And
so are you guys back together? I don't know. We haven't talked about it.
it's been a month.
You've been sleeping together for a month and you've not had a conversation?
We've never even kissed another girl. Why are you pretending that this is anything other than what's written in the pattern? Wait, what?
A gentleman never kisses and tells.
What's this?
An
Have you kissed another
innkeeper.
girl? Or more? Not Avienda, no. The only people who she smiles at are Elaine and Perrin. Oh, just the grin on Rand's face when that's going on.
But
Uh,
as soon as Celine is mentioned, they cut to the crowd outside,
and there
and
she
who's
is.
walking in bigger than life, as
Oh,
conspicuous as you can be.
yeah. Um, and in the books, Lanfear was said to be the most beautiful woman of her age, and possibly that of any other as well. I, that talk about some impossible casting.
They picked a good one because
Yeah,
Natasha Richardson is
she,
a pretty woman.
yeah, she is striking, and uh, Lanfear is also supposed to be very tall, almost as tall as Rand, who in the books I think is like 6 foot. Um, he's supposed to be taller than Perrin. He's not, but he's supposed to be. Um, so yeah, Lanfear and Moraine have a conversation.
That's just bizarre that Lan would even remotely agree to allow anything of the sort, much less a plot against the kids.
I think that was a measure of his trust in Moraine's judgment. I, not saying right or wrong, just that he trusts Moraine. You think I will hurt them to you think I will hurt them to get him to do what you want? Yes, to be honest, it's the only thing I like about you.
Well, Moraine did stab her and cut her throat, so it'd be hard to like
Yeah,
someone who
okay,
did
yeah,
that.
yeah, I did forget about that. Yeah. Lanfear has plenty of reason not to like her, other than just not being a dark friend. Yeah.
More than a dark friend, forsaken.
No, that Moraine isn't a dark friend. Lanfear
But
doesn't like her because she follows the light.
yeah,
It's more than just that.
mm,
Um, uh, the lack of curtsying in this show, it, I mean, it's almost like, would you watch a military movie where nobody saluted each other? It
it would be weird.
exactly.
I've watched
It's
more
weird.
war movies than I want to admit. My grandfather, if it wasn't a war movie or a western, it wasn't on his TV. I was about 5 years old the first time I saw Tora Tora Tora, and I
Nope,
could have lived
never
without
seen it.
that. It
Not something a 5-year-old should be watching.
No, and to this day, I'm not a big western fan either.
Yeah, no, I'm not. And something that kept coming up in these, well, all four of these episodes, that is just weird. In some ways, they are more like Game of Thrones than the books were. Uh, there's there's literally one sex scene in the entire series. One and a half if you want to count laying around afterwards. And yeah, there's sex in the show, but there's no nudity or not much. The scenes in the books, when you walk through the arches, when you're in bloody sweat tent. We'll get to that later, but it's just weird that they'll do one but not the other. It makes no sense to me.
Um,
And you're
when
supposed
the
to go through those arches with literally nothing but your wits, because the first few Aes Sedai who were trying to figure out what this was, because it is a ter'angreal. Uh, some of them just never came out.
Yeah,
And they didn't know why. And so that was a measure against that.
um, back in the tavern, Perrin and Rand are talking and they're playing a game.
Oh,
And
yes,
I had to
boxes.
go back, I had to go back and look.
Yes.
And yes, it was snakes and foxes on the board. So I'm guessing that's
Grown ass men playing snakes and foxes. It was just funny. Um, because um it's a children's game because assuming you don't break the rules, you cannot win. Um, so yeah, and so at some point, like 8, 9, something like that, you give up playing because you realize you have to cheat in order to win. And it relates back to something else I'll talk about later, but it was a very nice nod to the books. Um, and Lan and Nynaeve worrying about Egwene in the arches.
yeah, because she told Swan the only way she would go back to the towers if she went through the arches that night.
Hmm. And Nynaeve saying, it's not just what you see, the memories you're left with. And Lan says, were we happy there? I'm really liking this version of Lan. It in the books he is so stoic. You want to slap him. It's almost like he'd break if he had an emotion. But this version is, I like him a lot better. Um, so then we have Elaine and Rand, um, talking about how to lead, or Elaine teaching Rand how to lead.
She's very diplomatic.
she's been taught from the time she could
Well,
walk.
yeah. Well, yeah. Her mother's the queen, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And in the books that this happens as well, but it's more like Rand remembers back to it. We don't. It's not on screen. That's something I'm really liking about the show is the things that are mentioned in the books or referenced. We're actually seeing. We're getting to see it play out. Um, and that's just something that I've circled back to time and time again, especially in these first four episodes. Um,
I forgot in the
hmm.
scenes where Moraine is warning them about cover your hair and put away your weapons.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
They kept the cuts were odd. They kept showing across the way these windows. And I went back and you can see someone in the windows.
The Gray Man?
So I don't know. I didn't know any who it was until I watched later and found
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
But yeah, there's some weird little snippets.
Interesting. So Egwene's one of Egwene's passes through the arches. In the books we see all three, but what'd you think of what the one we did see?
Her is the Amerlin, and she's gonna have to kill Rand.
Yeah.
I
What would you tell
noticed
him?
I noticed she was wearing armor, but it was like my shirt. It wasn't up against her throat.
Oh,
So I'm thinking that that is
yeah,
still a trigger.
yeah, yeah, it would be.
I mean, that if anybody's going to have some PTSD from that, yeah, totally understand.
Especially that particular, yeah. Um, I thought it was interesting that she referred to Nynaeve and Aline as sisters, not daughters. And that's officially what the Amerlin is supposed to call other Aes Sedai.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well, they're not Aes Sedai yet.
no, I'm talking about in the Arches.
Oh,
I mean, Egwene is the Amerlin in the Arches.
but even
I, it's
even after all of that, they would still be.
it would be a matter of because we're besties, um, we have this informality,
Yeah.
at least amongst each other. And from the others, okay, yeah, she's a common daughter.
Hmm.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool that he even in the arches they're still tight. Um, so then we have Moraine and Rand chit-chatting about Kalendor and how the others can't take it. Or can they? Except if the prophecies can be broken that easily, what good are they? Are they actually prophecies? If they can be broken that easily. It's all very wibbly wobbly, tiny whiny. It's just yes, you can't do it because this says so, but then if you do, and then the you know what I mean. And Moraine asks Rand where he wants to go.
Of course, he wants to go home.
Yeah,
He's trying to be a little vulnerable with her, and she gets snotty about it.
she bites his head off because she asked the wrong question. Eh, He's a human being who's been away from the home for the first time. He's being hunted by the Forsaken and the Black Asha. Of course he wants to go home.
And he just found out that his whole life is a lie. He's not his father's son. He doesn't know where he comes from. His parents were
Right.
from a strange land that he knows nothing about. And he's desperate for some sort of normalcy.
Um, I wanted to slap Moraine in the whole face. And then Egwene comes out of the arches and gets her ring.
And promptly says, "See ya, I'm gone."
By Tower law, as an accepted, when she is not in classes, she is allowed to go into the city. If she leaves the city, that is seen as her running away, and she will be expelled. Period. End of subject. She got a pass for Thumb because Leandrin.
Well,
But
yeah, she was. You can't fault a girl for getting kidnapped.
yeah, no, like I said, she got a pass because she was doing what an Aes Sedai told her to. The fact that she didn't know the woman was Black Aja. Um, and it in the books, it's because Moraine is taking her out of the tower that she's allowed to go.
Uh,
It's under supervision. Um, so and then we get to the scene where the maidens offer Matt to play Maiden's Kiss.
if the kiss is good, the sword will move, or
Come
the
back.
spear will
If
move
not,
farther back.
yes. That is straight out of the books. Though in the books, he didn't make it back to his own bed until dawn. Yeah, he had a good time, I'm guessing. And Loyal saying, "Let me get my quill and book." I'm like,
They
dude,
tell they tell Loyal he can play too.
God, yes.
That was hilarious.
I, this Bane and Chiad are thirsty AF.
In my notes I have it. I wrote it felt like fan fiction, just the way it was written.
Yeah. Um, and then Avienda goes up on the roof. No, sorry, Elaine goes up on the roof to see Avienda.
With 2 glasses and a flagon of wine.
No, this is not wine. This is the booze that she created.
Oh, was that booze? Oh, even better.
Yeah, this is what she made for her and Egwene. Because when they were out in the city, she said, "I intend to make something for my last night of freedom." It isn't usquai, but which is tequila. It's the way I read it because it's the Aiel drink and it's made from cactus. So,
Yeah.
um, but Elaine saying that Avienda always slept on the deck of the boat is very interesting because Aiel are infamously terrified of water. That much water, being surrounded by it, needing a boat. I mean, they fight and kill over a trickle of a stream that you could step across. So that would be something if Avienda could actually sleep around that much water. Um, but anyway, um, I thought the ending of that scene was a nice twist on the books. Um, they're best friends in the books, and they end up adopting each other as first sisters. You could certainly read into it, but nothing's ever actually
Said
said.
outright. Okay.
Yeah. Um, and then Rand calls Egwene Sedai.
He sees her ring and calls her Egwene Sedai.
Yeah, like she hasn't graduated yet. Um, and he asks about the arches. Oh, we're not supposed to talk about it. Tell me if it was good or bad.
How do you tell your boyfriend you had to cut his head off in the arch? Or stab
Uh,
him in the heart or whatever she did. I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
It's
That
a
she
bit
had to kill
much.
him.
It's a bit much.
It in the books it was set up a little bit differently, but the idea was that she was supposed to go into the courtyard and still him, or gentle him. That's the word they use when a male is severed from the source. Um,
Boys are gentled and women are stilled.
yeah. Uh, and if you screw up and end up doing it to yourself, um, you're uh burned out. But back in the Age of Legends, they simply called it severed, no matter how it happened. Uh, I think it was Moghedian who said having two different words for it is like having two different words for falling down the stairs, depending on whether you jumped or were pushed.
And my brain went to spay and neuter, so
No, as far as burning out versus being stilled
yeah.
is what she was talking about.
Uh, I was talking about the girl word and the boy word, and yeah.
Um, and then Rand asking, "Did I hurt you?" I'm not afraid of you, Rand. You didn't answer the question, lady.
And
Um,
then he touches her.
he touches her neck.
He puts his hands like not
Yeah,
a little lower, like to kiss her, and
yeah, but that
that triggered
flashback, which,
that triggered bad,
yeah, yeah,
and I totally understand that it would.
oh yeah, yeah. Um, and Nanu sneaks up on that in the inn, or the common area, I guess is what it was.
Well, he's down in the common area trying to find
How'd
more
you get
wine,
those?
and he's got all these
Just
marks on his
now.
neck.
Yeah, what have you ever been a gentleman, Matt? Um, so in the books he isn't a hero of the Horn, but he ends up with other men's memories who aren't past lives. Um, and that relates back to the snakes and foxes. Uh, It's just as well they aren't including those because they never really made sense anyway. The Aelfin and Eelfin. We don't know what they are. They aren't Shadowspawn. They aren't human. They aren't. We don't know what they are. The Eelfin are fox-like people, and the Aelfin are the snake-like people. Pretty sure I'm getting that straight. Um, but they because when Matt was healed from the dagger, he ended up with a bunch of holes in his memory, and there's a Tirangriel doorway you can walk through to get to their realm. And he asked for he wanted the way he phrased it was, I want the holes in my memory filled in. He did not specify he wanted his own memories back.
Yeah, it's
He
like a
wanted
genie.
the holes filled in.
It's like a genie. You got to be really specific with your wish because
Mhm.
they will give it to you as you ask.
They will
Uh,
give it to you as they interpret it, and to hell with what you wanted.
is the memory thing why he's starting to speak in Old Tongue?
Yes.
Okay.
Um, uh, he has memories of dying in battle. A lot. Like over the centuries. Um, so he has PTSD out to Wasu.
Yeah.
Um, and he drinks a lot in the books, just trying to cope with it. Um, because as much as the Yellow Aja is known for healing, they don't do mental health. There are no therapists. That just isn't a thing in their world. It was back in the Age of Legends, but not in the here and now.
More more waves that haven't been remembered yet or rediscovered.
Yeah, things that have been forgotten. Yeah. Um. So
So
then we
while
have the
Nynaeve and
attack.
Matt are in the kitchen, all hell seems to break loose throughout the house.
Yeah.
Nynaeve is dreaming. She's being attacked by Rena, and she wakes up and Rand.
Egwene. It
Did I say
is a
Nynaeve?
dream.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, Egwene is dreaming. Wakes up, Rand is attacking her, but she looks over and Rand's laying in the bed next to her. What's going on? Perrin and Loyal in their room. Um, they're awakened by Perrin's axe flying through the air and
Mhm.
clips Perrin right in the chest. All kinds of craziness. And something moves behind Nynaeve that we learn is a gray man. And we see Moraine and Lan
Yes.
sitting in a room going, okay, we're not going to help. We got to let this play out.
Yeah. And the first time I watched it, I'm like, okay, Matt's not reacting. Lan and Moraine aren't reacting. Can they not hear? No, they they're reacting like they can hear. I was so confused.
Well, Matt's in the room. Nynaeve is screaming, and he's just staring at the playing cards that are animating themselves.
Um,
Um, that was wild. My
and
first thought was I didn't know that peyote existed in this world, but you never know.
um, in the books, the people came off of the cards and attacked him,
Ah,
and
that
everyone.
would make that would make more sense than just being.
Um, s- it could be that he thinks the whole thing isn't real because of his PTSD. Because
Maybe.
Nynaeve didn't see the cards move. He could be lost in what he thinks is a memory, or maybe he really is lost in a memory.
It
And
was just weird.
it was, yeah. Um, and then the axe comes from Perrin's hand and breaks his wedding ring.
Well, that's after the Aiel girls come in because they hear the commotion,
Yeah.
and Loyal saves them from the axe attack, and
Mm-hmm.
they love him for that. Um,
Oh yes.
but yeah,
I
the
have
axe
G.
goes through and manages to cut his ring in two pieces.
Yeah. How? I don't know. Especially
That
evenly like that. Yes.
it would have to go through the whole finger to
Yes.
weird,
Yeah,
but
I
okay.
don't know. Or
Anyway,
some kind of fault in the metal itself.
I
But
don't
I
know.
would think Perrin would be the one to have made them, so they aren't faulty.
I saw it as a sign that Perrin truly needed to let go of this marriage. But that, yeah, maybe I'm just reading too much into it.
No, I think you're right. And she didn't exist in the books.
Yeah, you told me he was never married.
Yeah, not at the beginning anyway. He
No,
finds someone later on.
I think we met her.
Um anyway. Um so yeah, in the books, that was the first time we see a bubble of evil. Um and I think it's interesting that they're playing it like this because in the books they happen throughout the series. They're just Moraine explains it as gas escaping from a bog, but this is evil escaping from Sheol. Um, and they just float along the pattern, and they are attracted to um, ta'veren. So the five of them are more likely to experience it than anyone else. Um, and yeah, they're simplifying things for people who haven't read the books.
I
Um,
I don't know how you would put that concept
yeah,
on the screen. I can mentally figure that out in my head what would be going on, but to put it on the screen would be
yeah. Aside from as it was in the books, Moraine just saying, "Oh, yeah, let me explain this to you."
yeah,
Again, it's tell not showing.
yeah.
Um. So yeah, then we realize Anfir was the one behind it, or most of it.
Yeah, Lan was not happy. Let her know that,
Ew.
Nynaeve was attacked and wounded,
Stabbed
stabbed 11
11
times.
times.
And Lanfear's like, uh, that was not me. There
Yeah,
and there's mention of the gray man, and Lanfear goes, there's only one of us that can do that.
yeah, yeah. And she was like, "Mm, get out of town now, now,
Yeah.
now, now, now."
Moghedien, who I refer to as Evil Bjork. Um, I swear,
Yes.
I swear, her theme song should be Army of Me. When you get a minute, pull that up on YouTube.
Um. So yeah, in the books, gray men and women are dark friends who have completely given their soul to the shadow. There aren't many of them. There also aren't. There we don't have any explanation beyond that of how, what's the process like. And we get,
We see it,
yeah,
the show's version of it. We
yeah,
see that.
yeah. um And the being able to touch the one power allows someone to sense when shadows spawn are near, but not gray men. In the books, Perrin can smell them because of his connection to the wolves. Or no, that's the Dark Hound.
Hmm.
Um, Perrin and Matt see them when it's convenient, because they are Taviran, and even then, it's like a yeah. Wait, what was that? Kind of, almost missed it. Um,
Um, blah, 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 blah. Lanfear's trick worked. The group decides to split. Nynaeve knows that she can't help Rand because she can't channel.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's heartbreaking, but
Yeah.
she's smart enough to know she needs to get that under control
Yeah.
so she's not a liability.
Yeah. Yeah. She can't even take
And
care of herself at this point.
Matt feels like he's so messed up from
Mm-hmm.
everything that he wants the Aes Sedai to help him out if they can.
Yeah.
He thinks Nynaeve, if anybody can help him, it would be Nynaeve.
Mm-hmm.
And Perrin is just, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I need to go home.
In the books, it was because he heard about the White Cloaks. Um, it wasn't just I quit, I leave, I'm going home. Um, so then we have Lan and Nynaeve saying goodbye.
And he gives her his mother's ring.
Mhm.
It's a chunking piece of metal and stone. It's a pretty big ring. But then again, the Aes Sedai rings in the show are huge too.
In the books, it was his father's signet ring.
Ah,
And he told her, if you're ever in the Borderlands and you need help, show them this. Um, so a matter of, if I can't be there, then you still have options. Uh,
my name will get you help.
hmm,
My name will get you help.
my name, yeah, yeah. Um, and then as they're leaving, Bane or Chiat, I've never been able to keep them two straight. One of them winks at Matt. And the Queen's reaction is priceless.
And Elaine tells Rand to remember who. No, Nynaeve tells him to remember who
Yeah,
he is.
yeah. No matter what you become, I
Yep.
think she said. And I was having flashbacks of Dr. Erskine, uh, in Captain America First Avenger. Remember who you are, not just a good soldier, but a good man.
And Matt has to make the joke.
Yes,
Ever notice that the White Tower looks like a giant?
there's earlier when I said this is most Matt has been, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Matt.
Well, compared to the morose shadow dagger possessed
Yeah,
character that he was in the first season,
yeah, yeah,
and he spent most of the second season locked up by Leandrin.
yeah.
So yeah,
I,
we've not really gotten to know him.
yeah, and it's the same in the books. In the first one, he gets the dagger pretty early on and starts going more and more cranky. And then in the second one, the dagger, Moraine healed him as much as she could, but then the dagger was stolen. and they had to go hunt down the dagger to get it back, to then take it back to the White Tower so that a circle of Aes Sedai could actually separate him from. Um, and I'll come back to that later. But we get the final scene.
Gideon making a gray man.
Uh,
I didn't. It was creepy and it was weird, but what really got me was at the very end, she sticks her fingers in his mouth.
I do not understand that.
It looked like she got pleasure from it.
I was trying to figure out, is she trying to pull something out? Is she trying? I
She seemed to derive exquisite pleasure from
Yeah,
that. It was a little gross.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But that was Jacob Carradine, a White Cloak.
Mm. Yeah,
Uh,
I had to pause it to see who was on the screen because I didn't recognize the person at
I
all.
didn't recognize him either. It was on my second watch, and because I had the subtitles on, because she called him Jay Shim, and I'd never pronounced it that way. But I saw it written out. I'm like, oh yeah, I know who you are. And oh wait, I did see a bit of armor there. And oh yeah, yeah, you're Darkrin. Yeah, I remember you. Um, in the books, he gets conflicting orders. He can't obey everybody because they're saying different things. He ends up being waterboarded by other dark friends with brandy, his drink of choice, and that's how he dies. So it's like, okay, maybe you got a better end this time. I'm not sure if this is better or not.
No, I think the brandy would have been a better end.
Um, so this really made me think, because um because of her ability to make gray men, they're going to merge Moghedien and Aginor. Aginor was one of the Forsaken. He used both the One Power and genetic engineering to create Trollocs. Um, so and I was thinking maybe also Semirog, because she was known to be a sadist, but we get mention of her later on. So Semirog is going to be her own thing.
Oh, joy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So what
So
did you
that
think of the first episode?
it was okay. The opening scene was just so much. It made everything
Yeah.
else seem kind of slow and sloggy. But yeah, overall it wasn't bad. Now,
Favorite quote?
ever notice that the White Tower looks like a giant? Because yes, I'm 12. I know.
I think mine's gotta be, why does she always want to leave at dawn?
Why can't it be
Why not
after a
after a
hearty
party there?
breakfast? Yes, yes. So that brings us to episode 2,
Yeah.
A Question of Crimson.
Yes, it does.
The opening
Good
flashback.
God Almighty. That was not in the books.
I was lying, well, kind of half sitting in bed watching the show. And that scene starts. And the Red Aja shows up, and I hear her voice, and I'm like sitting way close to the TV. I absolutely love Sheree. She was one of my favorites from The Expanse. I know I've seen her in other things too. They're just not coming to my head. But she is amazing.
I haven't seen The Expanse,
You need to
but
watch it.
I'm like, I know that voice. That is an unmistakable voice. So I looked her up on IMDb and I've seen her in like 3 or 4 other things, just not a lot in each series. Um, and things that I watched so long ago that it was like, okay, yeah, it makes sense that I don't remember her. But yeah, that voice is distinct.
I have to wonder with the the characters that she played in The Expanse and what she's playing now are very similar. They're
Um,
powerful women who are beautiful, alluring. But I don't think Elida is going to be allowed the vocabulary that her character from The Expanse, Christian Avasarala, was allowed. She's done
Christian
it.
swear a lot.
She used a lot of Heather words, a lot of them.
Your son would be charging her a lot, huh?
She'd owe him the moon.
Her son has a swear jar for her.
Yes, I have to pay a penny every time I curse. It's horrendous.
Um, so everybody being in red wasn't because of Elida. Red and white are the colors of House Strakand.
Yeah, I understood that.
Oh, okay.
No, the when I mentioned the red was the red sister,
Yeah,
Elida,
yeah,
played by Sheree.
yeah.
And I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce her last name because I know I will butcher it. I
Elida
just, I,
Dovrini Ivroyan. And if that sounds like I'm swearing, I am.
you told me.
Uh,
So Morghese has won the war
yeah.
and is getting coronated queen. She's pregnant with Elaine. And she's brought her enemies in to swear fealty. And all will be forgiven.
Yeah, right.
Not. They slit the throat of a child.
Yeah. She would not have done that.
And Elida's just like, here's your crown, sweetie.
Yeah,
So it sets up the expectation of what kind of woman we're dealing with.
in the books, Morghese was about Elaine's age when she took the Lion Throne. Um, yeah, she certainly wasn't pregnant. Um, Later on, there's mention of the last daughter heir who went off on her own. Um, it was Tigraine's husband that Morghese married to create some semblance of continuity. And he is Galad's father. Galad is Tigraine and what's his name's kid. Uh, and then Gawain and Elaine are Morghese and what's his face's kid. Um, anyway, uh, so then she goes to see the Armelin seat. And Suan makes her wait. I'm like, oh, you Patty. Yeah. That Suan would do that. Yeah.
I don't think that the Amerlin gets to throw her weight around too much. So when she has a moment to remind people of who she is, she takes it.
Yeah.
You might be queen, but here in this tower.
Yeah. Yeah. Not here, you ain't. Yeah. And she actually says pretty much that in this fall, you will address me as, how did she say it? You will address me appropriately, I think. Oh, yes. Mother,
Yeah.
since you have not actually had a child, you don't know what the word actually means. Mother.
But she is mother to all of the Aes Sedai, thus responsible for them.
Yeah. I would argue there's a difference. A bigger difference than
Oh,
sort
yes.
of.
Being a mother,
Yes, exactly.
having birthed a child, yes.
Yeah, I was thinking about you watching the scene. I'm like, oh, Heather's going to slap Swan.
Yeah, I mean, if it were my son, yeah, some or daughter, if I had a daughter, yeah. I don't know if you've seen the videos where they ask mothers of young children if they would kill for their children, and some of them are like, "No, I could never do that. Be fitted for my bracelets now. I'm going to prison for life, and I'm going to smile the whole time.
Yeah,
Because if you hurt my son, you've signed your own death warrant.
yeah.
Call me crazy, whatever. I don't care. That's my child."
Mhm. Um, so then, Rand and crew are making their way across the spine of the world. Aiel would make it by nightfall on foot, but
But not us silly wetlanders.
the look Avienda gave them was just
So while Morghese is seeing, when she comes in to see the Amerlin,
uh-huh.
they parade everyone in. Her prince consort, no
Gabriel
one, no one seems to know him.
until they lay eyes on it.
The Chamberlain, who knows everybody, and that's her
Yeah.
job to know
The
everybody.
keeper of the chronicle says, Lord
Uh, oh,
Gabriel.
forgive me, Gabriel. And even Salon was like, "Oh, it is so wonderful to see you again. Like, I've never seen you before in my entire life." So that was a little off putting. And later in the episode, when Elaine sees him, even she's
Yeah.
a little sketch about him.
Yeah, I was real sketchy about everyone's reaction to him. I'm like, how are y'all recognizing this dude? Y'all have never fucking met him. Why are y'all acting like you know him?
Well, we learn, but
Yeah,
we've not seen compulsion on the screen yet.
and even in the books that I can't think of any situation of compulsion that is that intricate.
Profound.
Uh, because in the books, you have to be in the same room. Um, it is an active thing, not some passive, oh, you see me and therefore this happens. Um, so yeah, that was a different take. I was worried that they were merging or just completely cutting out Gareth Bryn, who's general to Queen Margaze. But he gets a mention, so maybe we will see him later on. I like him.
Um, I have in my notes that, yeah, Sawan checks Morgaze's cheek with the whole mother thing. And there have been a lot more fish references these last two episodes. Or either that or I'm catching them more.
Suwan's full of them in the book, so it just whatever. Yeah, Swan, fish, sure, yeah, just
Funny.
um. So then we see Heron and Loyal and crew coming out of the Waygate in Manethra, and that is how you're supposed to close a bloody Waygate. Howard, why?
The little
That
leaf.
foot. Hmm?
The little leaf.
Yes, the Avendesora leaf. You move it. But it looked like Loyal took it with him, which is how you lock a Waygate.
They showed him put it on there to
Yeah.
close the gate. He takes it off.
No.
But they showed him put it back on. It didn't. The gate didn't do anything, but he kind of put it off to the
Yeah.
side. It
I
wasn't in
missed
the
that.
exact same spot.
Okay. Okay.
And Perrin notes that a man and a woman have been there
Yeah. He spelled
and smells like ashes.
and he mentions that they should have stopped by a steady.
Mm-hmm.
The Waygates were built right outside of the steady to connect steady, specifically because that's where they were located. So, I mean, if Loyal needed it, he could have just hung out there or very near there for a couple of days. Uh, he doesn't need it yet. Why didn't he just say it's book 7 or 8, maybe, before he starts feeling it? Maybe later. But it takes, I want to say, like 5 or 6 years for it to start kicking in. But in the books, he's already been out a few years. So Loyal is 90 years old and not quite considered a grown up by Ogier standards.
Apparently, they have very long lives.
Yes, very, very long lives.
After that, we cut to Elaine seeing her brothers and Gabriel.
Yes. Yes.
And brothers come across as exceedingly arrogant.
Galad, yes. Gawain, in the books, not so much. In the books, Gawain is um Galad saved him from drowning when they were kids, and Gawain's kind of always been behaved indebted to him.
Uh,
That because no one else was around. If Gawain had simply not acted, he would be first. He would be what is it? First Prince of the Sword. Um, so he's deferential to Galad in the books. And Elaine hates Galad. And with good reason. I mean, he might have been insufferable in the show. That was a nice version.
well, he basically told her she's been mollycoddled her whole life and knows nothing of the world.
Yeah. Book Galad is even more naive than Elaine. And is so insufferable. He sees the world in absolute black and white, and that is it. The end. This man is in the books, I think he's maybe 25, maybe a little older. And it's
Just
like,
barely, just barely
no,
old enough to know he doesn't know anything.
but he behaves like he's 6, and
Mm.
the world should bend to his will.
Mm.
And yeah,
And he lets Elaine know that mom's taking her home.
yeah,
She's not pleased with that.
yeah.
The Yellow Sisters try to work on Matt,
Mm-hmm.
but can't figure out what he needs and what they need to do for him.
Mm-hmm.
Morghese and Swan have a private conversation that's a lot different because, in public, they've got to
Yeah,
keep their,
appearances.
yes, can't have either
Elaine is
one.
safer here than anywhere else in the world. That ain't saying a whole lot, lady.
That means there ain't nowhere safe in the world.
Mhm.
And Morghese knows that they're hiding something.
Well, I
I
thought it was
did.
interesting that when they show up at Elaine's door, um, Elaine curtsies to Swan, but not her mother, not the bloody queen. I mean, maybe if it was just her mom at the door, okay, fine. But this is a
Mo- Mother and mother.
yeah. Like I said, it's like a military movie without any saluting. Anyway, but yeah, I really appreciated how observant Morghese was in that scene, and very true to the books.
Well, she would have to be if she's
Yeah,
survived a war of succession and
and as young as she was when she
stayed on
did it.
stayed on the throne for this
Yeah,
long. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so then we have Rand and Lan doing sword practice.
With Egwene and Moraine watching.
He loves the sword. It's meditative for him. And if you're shielded, then you know have a backup plan. But mostly, it's staying in the flame in the void is his time to think. His, like I said, meditate. Even is not meditative as it looks.
And while the girls are watching, Moraine notices that Egwene has fresh bruises, and she's like, I healed those.
Yeah.
Did he do this? And we know they're from her nightmares.
Yeah, it, I missed it at first as to what, like, is she doing this to herself in her? Yeah, I totally missed that on my first watch as to what was going on, and I should have caught it. I really should have.
Well, there's a nightmare scene later
Yes,
where you see exactly.
yes,
Egwene may not realize it, but we get
yes.
to see.
So then Perrin and the others arrive in
And,
Edmondsfield.
we forgot something.
Oh,
Moraine tells Egwene the more he channels, the faster he'll go mad.
and you will have to watch it.
And 3 minutes later, she's telling Rand, you got to channel.
She ain't wrong. I
It's a catch 22
Yeah,
because
yeah.
he is done if he does and done if he doesn't.
Mm-hmm. So they rebuilt the inn. Yay. Oh. In the books, it was never destroyed in the first place, but I was happy to see it, and I can only imagine how happy Perrin was to see it. Um, and then Marino Veer spots them, and it's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, there's an attic," and I'm like, "Why are you saying that to Perrin? Perrin bloody knows." Maybe if she was looking at the others, that would make more sense. I mean, I know she's saying it for the benefit of the audience, but Perrin knows there's an attic. You can tell it looks the same as it did before, so yeah.
He was just confused as to why she was taking him up there and putting him with the others.
Yeah, well, she hadn't mentioned the others.
When they get up there, and he's like, "Hold on, I don't know what you're saying," and she's like, "I thought you could stay with the others," and then we see Alana and Maxon.
Yeah. Um, and then we are back in the tower, and they're mentioning the seer. And yay! We get Min back.
Yeah, Varen had put her as a servant for
Yeah.
people she wanted to be nosy with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, and then we see Galad and Gawain showing off. Yeah.
Matt had a girl named Clara in his room and was being a bit cheeky.
Oh yeah, yes. Did you invite a friend?
Fred was like, "Hey, they're fighting,"
She's
and
like,
that's like, "Of course
princess
they
are
are."
here. Come on, she's gonna just leave this loser.
And Matt goes to watch. He sees it, Nynaeve, and he says, "I didn't know you would be in for this kind of thing."
I
And
think
Nynaeve
everyone's in.
says, "I think everyone is in for this kind of thing, Matt."
Yep. Uh, comment about them being arrogant. And Nynaeve says, "No offense." And I said, "None taken." From someone sleeping with an actual
Oh,
king.
King.
um. So then Siobhan has her meeting with Nynaeve and Elaine.
Turns them into her secret squirrels.
Yeah.
No one is trustworthy, not even me.
Hmm?
She basically says, "No one is trustworthy, not even me."
Yeah. Yeah. What should we do what you say? It's exactly what I want you how I want you to think.
And they'll have an easier time with it because they can lie.
Yeah, they'll be underestimated.
And they can lie.
Yeah, and they can lie. Yeah. Um, and then we are back in the attic, and Vane or Tiad, like I said, I can't never been able to keep them straight. One of them says, uh, when caught between the bear and the hound, what whether you choose the bear or the hound, you're only choosing which stomach you end up in, something like that. But the grin, the reaction from Alana and Maxim, it's like,
If you
yeah,
ask
oh,
if you ask a lion instead of a bear to protect you, you only end up in one belly instead of another.
yes, thank you. A Perrin deciding to turn himself in. He does it in the books too. Hmm. Um, but then we'll go back to Egwene's dream.
Rand is dreaming with
Right.
Lanfear, and we cut to
Yeah.
Egwene's dream, and we see that it's not Rhenna, actually.
For a second,
It's
when Egwene's back is turned. Yeah.
the face changes, and it's Lanfear. So that's why she can actually be hurt.
Yeah. Because Lanfear is pulling her into the world of dreams. Some of those nightmares might be actual just nightmares and just be PTSD, but not all of them.
But she's doing that to Egwene in her dream, or the dream world, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
While she's telling Rand, you know, oh, we can't be together because of the doe-eyed cow. She called her a doe-eyed cow.
It's like, well,
But
if you were that not threatened by her, then yeah. Mm-hmm.
I smell a bit of jealousy.
Oh, yes. Book Lanfear is so jealous. Mm-hmm.
But Egwene's dream jumps. She almost goes, it's like she throws herself somewhere else, and she
Yeah.
sees an Aiel woman with spears
Yes.
and tells her, "You do not belong here."
And Egwene says, "What did I do? Not what happened. Not where am I?
What
What
did I
did
do?
I do?"
So she may know that she can.
But yes, that's fair. And I was so very happy to see her because, yeah, she's one of my faves. I know, I have a lot of faves.
And we cut to Matt, who is in his room, listening to his neighbors having amorous adventure.
Both of them. And
That
not
actually
getting any of his own.
that actually happened to me in college.
Oh, God.
Girl next door and her boyfriend were loud. They learned that my stereo was louder. Yeah, that never happened, but once. They never did that again.
Um, and then Elaine is in her mother's quarters and tries on the crown. Yeah, your mama wasn't much older than you, and she had it by right.
And Gabriel shows up and she has her little flash for a moment, and then it was like she's known him for the last
10 years.
decade of her life.
Mhm.
They had spent many an hour drinking together and talking at her brothers.
Yeah, yeah, they deserve to be talked about.
Yeah.
Um, Galad, they have inverted trajectories. I started off hating Galad and ended up hating Gawain.
I'm
I at the beginning I hated Galad and liked Gawain, and then yeah, like no,
I'm
other
just
way around.
not I'm not a fan of either one of them right now.
Yeah, yeah. This version of Gawain, fine, whatever.
So Swan
Well,
has
Gabriel makes an interesting comment. Um, he says it's worse, and I'm like, oh yeah, because you're making it worse, dude.
yeah, that would be it. That would
It's
make sense.
much worse than yeah. Yeah, and then Min shows up in Matt's room, and oh he gets called to Swans.
She hears the neighbors'
Yes.
noises, and it's just like, oh dear Lord. But yes, Matt's been called to see Swan. Of course, Swan, you're working for her. He basically tells men.
You're an idiot, dude. He didn't do any of that crap in the books, but I think, at least in part, it was. I think Moraine was the one who told him basically what Swan said in that scene much earlier, and he didn't want anyone knowing anything in the books, and not about Rand. He didn't want to know about Rand. Um, but yeah, and he called Swan Your Majesty. It's like, no, it's Mother. You've been here bloody long enough. But yeah,
I loved the way that Swan handled that.
she
We
with a
certainly
fiddle
wouldn't have a
or a horn.
portrait made of ourselves with it.
Yeah, no one's that stupid.
Oh, so
But
Elaine, mhm,
she
I'm
tells a
sorry.
story about her uncle Huan, and that is straight out of the books. And she tells
I'm
that
not a hero.
the
I
first time she meets Matt, she tells him that and makes that comparison. Will you be there when the flames are high? I am no bloody hero.
I just do what I have to do.
The number of times he says, I'm no bloody hero. Uh, mhm, yeah,
Heroes only did what they had to do.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure Huan would have said the same thing. Mhm.
So Elaine gets diplomatic with her mom,
Oh, yes, I love this scene.
says she needs to earn her place on the throne,
Yes.
be the first Aes Sedai queen. Safety is a luxury no longer afforded.
And Mother Morghese says something about the last time a daughter heir went off on her own, she never came back. That was Tigraine. That was Rand's mother.
So she died on the slopes of Dragonmount. Interesting. So
Yeah,
they really, just about everybody in the book is really tied
related
together,
somewhere or other.
half related.
Uh, yeah. Uh, in the books, there's this one scene where Rand is chatting with some high lady from Andor. I forget her name. Uh, and she's going on and on about how she's related to the first queen of Andor and how that makes her like, in line for the throne. And she mentions about Marghese and Tigraine being cousins. And by this point, Rand already knows that Tigraine's his mom. And he's like, "What? Say what now?" And she's like,
Ooh.
"Oh well, blah blah blah." No clue as to. And Rand's like, "No, no, no. If they were farmers, how related would they be?" And by this point in the books, um, there was he had taken over. He had taken Tyr, and there was a high lady who, as soon as he left, was like, "I'm gonna name myself Queen," and he came back and threw her out. He's like, "Yeah, no, we're gonna teach you to be a farmer," and she chose to hang herself instead.
Oof.
But the word got out, and so him saying, "What if they were farmers?" She panicked. She's like, "Well, I suppose they wouldn't be considered related at all." Read such a huge sigh of relief because, in the books at least, he and Elaine are a thing. Nobody is ending up with who they end up with in the books, except Len and Nynaeve. It's very weird. I'm like, okay, well, okay, that at least makes sense. But what? Wait, you and you? Okay. Uh,
So Moraine and Rand talk, and he tells her he likes sword fighting with Lan because he listens, and thus Moraine doesn't listen.
yeah.
Um,
And
and Moraine, it's like you have to chant. And he says he feels grounded with a sword in his hand. And when he starts talking about the bitter and the sweet, you can see his weaves coming around his hands. And the way Moraine reacts, it's almost like she can see them. And earlier,
I shouldn't be able to.
when they were under attack and Rand, you know,
Mhm.
drew the power, it looked like Egwene could see
And she
his
shouldn't be able
weaves.
to either.
It was just weird.
No one who can't channel can see anyone's. Um, Men and women cannot see each other's weave. Uh, the only advantage either has is that if a woman has embraced the source, a man gets goosebumps. If he can channel. That's the only warning he gets. He can't actually see her weaves. Um, but he's explaining what Sidene feels like to Moraine, the sweetness of it, and Sidar can be just as addictive. So, yeah, she totally gets that part of it.
You have to embrace both so you don't forget.
Yeah, there isn't a taint on Sidar, so that's different. But they,
So after that, we go back to the tower, and Swan is wishing happy travels to Morghese, and Elida is staying in the tower. Swan is not pleased. Morghese lets Swan know that if anything happens to her daughter again, she'll be back with her army. And I totally understand that. Um, okay. After that, Rand and crew arrive at the edge of the Isle Waste.
they have crossed the spine of the world.
And Avienda's like, who did you tell we were coming? And they're like, what do you mean? We didn't tell anybody. But the wise woman from Egwene's dream is there with the
Avienda
clan
should
chief.
not have been surprised, but the Dreamwalkers. Wait, she knows about Dreamwalkers. All the Aiel do.
Well, she had said to Moraine and Egwene that it was her job to bring Rand back to her people, but she didn't have to like it because the prophecy says that the dragon will destroy them and
A
only a
remnant
remnant
of a
will.
remnant will remain.
There you go. So yeah. So she was freaking out about that,
Yeah.
and that's where the episode ends.
The fella who looks at Rand, this is him. That's Ruark. I love Ruark. It's Bear's husband.
There was a video. Um, I forget the actor's name, but he was just being goofy on like TikTok or something, and he's said in his normal voice, not his rock voice. eh, Good morning. It's a balmy 78 degrees or something. It's just the way he said it, and everybody's like, read the phone book, read the phone book.
Okay, I'm going to have to go look that up.
So episode 3,
Yes,
Seeds of the Shadow. We
yes,
get a meeting of the Forsaken.
yes. And Grendel and Semirog get mentioned.
We
So
learn
that
we
is
learn that
7 of the 8 that
we learn that
Moraine admits to existing.
we learn that Gabriel is Ravine,
Yes.
and his thing is compulsion, and it makes everything make sense.
Hmm.
Um, Lanfear calls Mogideon a coward but smart,
Hmm.
and Grendel and Semarak not there. Uh, Samael, um, when he appears, he's got the ring, and he looks like a general out of like Napoleon's army. He is obviously not trusting anybody, not having, and
No.
doesn't want to be involved in that. Why am I here? None of this makes sense. Lanfear, you didn't do your job. You're supposed to get him to get the sword and blah blah blah. When he leaves, he doesn't even turn his back on them. He he throws his weave over his shoulder, and the portal opens up. I noticed there was no corruption in their weaves.
The Dark One protects them from it.
Okay,
Or the Great Lord, as they say.
we'll just call him the Dark One. But yeah, just weird.
So did you see the scar across his face?
Mm-hmm.
That is from obviously the Age of Legends. Uh, Samael was really good at a lot of things, but not quite as good as Lews Therin.
Mm.
That was the theme of his life. This is great, not quite as good as Lews Therin.
So second fiddle to lose his whole life. Okay.
If Lews Therin hadn't existed, he would have been
Lose Theron.
the Aes Sedai of the Age of Legends.
Okay.
He'd have been the man. And that jealousy is what drove him to the dark side. They after he comes out as being um having crossed over, he and Lews Therin come across each other on the battlefield and get into a sword fight. And Lews Therin does that to him.
Lovely.
And it could have been dealt with magic easily at the time. It's like, no, no, this is my reminder.
Mm.
And on the day I beat that goat kissing Trolloc, then and only then will I have this removed.
Mm. So they have their little tete-a-tete and go their separate ways. Gabriel remains, and Mogideon crawls out of the shadows. She's not happy she's been called a coward. And they
Is she surprised?
no, she's no fool, but doesn't mean she's got to like being.
Get over yourself.
And she seems to flirt with Gabriel.
Yes.
That was creepy.
it was weird. Yeah. Um, so I'm curious. Lorraine says that there are eight Forsaken. There are 13 in the books. So my question now is, are there actually only eight, or were the other five forgotten? Now, um, so Demandred, Aginor, Asmodine, Bathamel, and Balal. I actually had to look them up because I didn't remember all of their names. I've been reading this series since March of 1996. I did not remember all of their names. That's how useless some of them are. Asmodian, um, less so than the others because he was trapped into teaching Rand as kind of the only person alive who could. Um, the only male channeler who really knew what was what. Um, but yeah, the others, whatever. We don't even see Demandrite outside of a couple of meetings within Talia Anriod until the last book. We don't know where the heck he's been holed up at. Yeah, that's how useless this guy is. And he spends the whole last battle. Where's Luther? I want Luther to come out here and fight me. Dude, that, that's your contribution to this whole thing? Pitching a tantrum that Luther won't come out and sword fight you? I have questions as to how on earth these particular 13 got to be the chosen. Short for those chosen to lead after.
Mm.
So then we get Elaine and Nynaeve questioning the Dark Prince, the Black Aja.
Hermiko and Joy.
No.
They've been stilled already. And they still won't tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But the only thing we got out of them that was worth anything was the hearts. Dark friends only know their heart, which is 3, and 1 outside. So one says Leandrin's gone to Tyr to get Kalendor with the Forsaken. Other one says she's gone to capture a false dragon. And no one really can figure it out. But Nynaeve remembers Leandrin's son. So they go
I'm
to...
guessing the others didn't know she had a son.
No, she hid that very well. I think she told Nynaeve that no one else knew. So they go to...
It's interesting. I don't know which one was which. But one of them told Nynaeve, I know a killer when I see one.
That was Hermiko.
Does she?
Because I wrote it down. To be honest, I'm not even sure that about the heart thing with the dark friends, knowing three
It's
and
true
one
to the
outside their
books.
heart. Okay,
So, um,
but I would question that because nothing
yeah,
they've
in
said
their
is
shoes,
true.
yes. If they said it, if they said the sun rose in the east, got a window.
The sky is blue. I'm going to verify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we cut from there to Elida's room, and Elida's hand shakes. It's weird.
Yeah,
Um,
that was not in the books.
she's wearing a bracelet, and I went back and I looked, and there's a snake charm on her bracelet. I don't know if that means anything. I had to look to see if there was something odd. Nen comes in, and Elida knows she's a seer. Basically tells her, you find out who your servants are, so you know who's watching you. And Nynaeve and Elaine go to the house where Leandrin's son was, and they find a sigil on the floor. They have no idea what it's for, but they know they're going to try and figure it out. Elida tries to get in to see Siuan, and Leanne and Varen do not let her. Cross me now, and I shall never forget it.
Oh, I love how Baron puts Elida in her place. No, a sitter may request a private audience with the eye. Come back with your sitter.
Elida then goes to the Red Aja and gets a really frosty reception from them.
Alina Casbah.
She
I didn't
tries.
catch the highest's name, but the other one.
I didn't write it down, but she tries to curry favor with them. She brought the one lady strawberries and a necklace for the highest of the sitters, and she's like, "You keep it. It's too gaudy for me."
Suits you much better.
Yes.
I wrote that one down.
She wants to go and still Rand and get back the power that the Red Aja should have in the tower.
She doesn't want to still him. She wants to kidnap him,
Mm.
cage him, control him. You take him out and use him when it's convenient.
I like that bracelet that Naomi stole for Leandrin.
Yeah,
So the Aiel.
that's wise one business.
I was trying to figure out how to work that in. Yes, that's Wise One business. It was beautiful.
That's wise one business too. Oh, that is something else that is said a lot in the books.
Yes. So they find dead tinkers, and only horrible people would kill them. Um,
The only thing less honorable than not defending yourself is killing someone who will not defend them.
defend themselves. Yes. And the name Shido is mentioned.
There is a scene similar to that is referenced in book one. But you get the impression that they were much further north and closer to the Blight. So you get the impression it was a Trolloc attack. Um, and it's only referenced because one of the Tinkers actually approaches an Aiel to deliver a message. Ends up being a prophecy about guarding the eye of the world. And the Emmonsfield Five hear that same message from two other places right about the same time. It's like, okay, guess this is actually really important. Let's go do that. But yeah, Shido aren't as much bad news this quickly, but yeah, they're bad news.
So then Perrin, while he's in the Two Rivers, goes to his wife's grave. And is kind of sad and happy at the same time about the apple tree that's growing. Because apparently his family, you're buried holding an apple seed. And so there's apple trees all around. And Alana says, I didn't take you for a gardener. And he explains to her about it. And she's there with her ashes on her face. And she tells him that, where she's from, we wear the ashes until they seep in and become part of us. We wear the grief. It makes sense to me, but it's also very morbid. I couldn't imagine doing that with my mother's ashes.
It's just something to highlight that there are different cultures within the world.
Oh, I totally get that. It is striking because it's so different.
Yeah, it's not something from the books. But yeah, and I don't remember where Alana's from. I didn't look that up. Oh.
Have you got your companion?
This remote in one hand, companion in the other.
That's not a companion. That is a phone book or an encyclopedia.
No, it is an encyclopedia. Yes, yes, it is. But yeah. And then we get Liandrin in Tenchika. No wonder she hates all
men. We skipped one funny part. The Aiel girls try to get Loial to play Maiden's Kiss. He's not having it. So they go to Maxim. Before they even ask, he's cleaning his sword. And he says, absolutely not. And they're like, we'll take it easy on you for your first time. And he says, who says it's my first time? Oh, leave your dirty sword. And he's like, it's not dirt. It's the blood from the only man I ever loved. And the girls just look at him like, oh. Whoops.
You shut up and leave you alone now.
Yeah. Liandrin in Tenchika. She shows up in scarlet with the.
Well, that's a fashion thing of Tenchika that they wear these veils. Everybody.
Yeah, she's got the veil. She looks like she's straight out of an 80s rock video.
Yeah.
She goes into the house and there's a wedding. And she realizes it's the grandson of her former husband. Great-grandson of her former husband. And he's marrying a child. And she's
Oh,
just like, she just says, have at them. And everybody dies.
don't hold back.
Everybody died except for the girl.
This is our house.
Yep. And they wiped her memory.
Sometimes it's better to forget.
Mhm. I have it in my notes. They wipe her memory, and Leandrin Kali Maz, the groom.
Holly, what?
Kali Ma from Indiana Jones. She reaches in, pulls out his heart.
Okay. Um, so then we have Elida and Min. And Elida is saying, I helped Morghese win. No, you didn't. You sat back and looked around and decided who was going to win. And then you just latched onto her. But it was only after you figured out, oh, this is the winning horse, so this is the side I'm going to be on.
Elida tells men, you know, I know that you've been sent to spy on me. But then she tells men
Well, this stays just between us.
what she wants men to go and tell
Yes.
Varen and Lyanna and Swan so that she gets her Red Sitter sisters out of the tower.
And how on earth Min didn't also say, oh, by the way, and she said, don't tell you this. And the three of them did anything other than go, oh, that's obviously a trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but then we're in a sweat tent. And there are people wearing clothes. You don't wear clothes in a sweat tent, just like you don't wear clothes in the shower. The bloody no. It's just weird.
Where Game of Thrones used sexuality and nudity as a joke, this show's kind of turned that way down.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that it seems stupid to be wearing a towel or partial shirt in a sweat tent, but I can kind of respect it
Hmm.
because TNA was standard. If you didn't have at least 5 instances of it in every Game of Thrones episode, it wasn't a Game of Thrones episode.
Wasn't that bad?
It was
Oh,
close.
oh,
Now the books, I've read all the books, so yes, there's lots and lots of sexuality in the books, but Dumb and Dumber, I mean, Dan and Dave were just using it as almost a crutch or a
yeah.
cudgel. Anyway, I'll step
Uh,
off my soapbox now.
so then we see the lady with the giant golden crane tattoo on her back.
And she asks, would you like to
Spend the night.
spend the night with me? And Lan and Moraine aren't sure which one she's asking.
So that are comes before, and then she walks up and says to Lamb.
Yeah.
There's sort of a, well, I guess that sells that one.
Yeah, because Lan's trying to get Moraine to hook up with her. Just for a little companionship.
Yes. You're allowed to be happy. And you think that will make me happy. Good nerd.
So Lan goes outside to talk to her about that tattoo. And she knows who he is.
Yep.
And she says she would break her spears and follow him to the Blight to reclaim their home.
Yes. When a maiden leaves the spears, they break their spears.
Yeah. We see that later.
Yeah. Well, it's not just going off to train as a wise one. It's any time you leave the maiden's spear. And then we're back in Emmons Field. And Sen Bowie is still alive for some bloody reason. Back in the pilot, we see an old man die, and I'm like, Sen Bowie's dead. Yeah. He's not a dark friend. He's just a
Jerk.
pain. Yes.
He's the one that the woman yelled when they
Yes.
said Perrin's not a dark friend. Well, he's something. So
Yeah.
are you.
Yes. Yes. Sen Bowie is something, that's for sure. Cantankerous, whiny, cowardly old man. Yes. And then we meet a new character.
She calls herself Mandan. And Perrin laughs. Mandarp, sorry. Perrin laughs because that's Lan's horse.
Yes. In the books, Lan and Mandarb are like almost shouting distance from them. And she says that and he just falls out. He's like, that's Mandarb pointing to the horse. She's like, oh, um. But yeah.
She says he's the only man she's ever known who tried and failed to turn themselves in.
Yeah. And then Mat and Min get in another fight.
She tries to apologize, but doesn't really apologize, and it just escalates.
And yeah. And Galad just has to go around being Galad.
He's just white knighting all over that tower, and it's really gross.
Yes. Yes, quintessential Galad. And then we're back in Emmons Field, and people are wanting to go home in the middle of the night, knowing that there are Trollocs in the woods. What kind of light-blinded idiot are you people? I don't understand. I mean, going back to their homes to take care of stuff. Oh, okay, fine. In the dark? And then Sin's like, oh, don't scare me, John. You aren't scared, you're an idiot.
Trollocs scare me, he said.
Yes.
If you're not afraid of a Trolloc, you are obviously very mentally deficient.
Yes. Very much so. And then he starts leading for the first time. And Mandarb sees it. Oh. And then we are back in the tower, and Mat is practicing with the quarterstaff.
You skipped one.
Oh.
Lyanna goes to the Red Ajah and tells him 7 sisters will go to steal a false dragon.
Mm-hmm.
The highest sister, whose name I did not write down for whatever reason, is now out of the way for Elaida.
Oh, looks like we need a new theater.
And the Irish, the one with the Irish accent whose name I
Helena
also didn't write
Cosban.
down. She is showing a little ambition. Elida, oh, we're going to need a new sitter temporarily, as our highest
Helena's
sister
gonna
is
go for it.
out. And Galena's like, you're right. Yeah, she's got some ambition.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go and see Matt playing with a quarterstaff. And,
Straight out of the books.
and Elaine's brothers
Yes.
come and offer to teach him to fight.
And
And he's like, I'll stick with the quarterstaff.
yeah, a good bow or quarterstaff.
Yep. So,
So in the books, he had just been healed, just separated from the dagger like a day-ish beforehand. He was, honest to God, almost falling on his behind, weak. And he goes down to the practice yards and sees the two of them. Yeah, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I bet I could beat both of you. 2 marks each."
each. So Nynaeve comes in, and Matt and Nynaeve talk, and Galad White Knight's all over them. And it's so obvious. Men said it earlier, and Nynaeve says it again. I don't need your help, basically. You're not needed in this.
Yeah, go away.
And that's when Matt's like, I'll fight you both. If I win 2 marks each.
Beat your pot. I'll take you both together.
And Nynaeve's like, Matt, don't do this. Don't do this.
And they're like, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it.
It happens. And Matt whips both of them. And I'll admit, I found Matt annoying and stupid. And then this scene happened, and I'm like, I love Matt. It was so great.
In the books, unless I'm greatly misremembering something, that scene happened before he got the memories.
Uh,
So that's straight up Matt Coffin.
lucky, lucky man.
Yeah. But yes, I was so happy to see that.
2 marks each. And Perrin finds out Blade's real name.
Yeah. Fail.
Fael means falcon.
Mm-hmm.
Hunting is in my blood.
That's still not a real name, but whatever.
Elaine and Nynaeve are going to go to Tanchico with Matt, and they're being followed by a hooded figure. And we see that it's men. We cut to Leandrin in Tanchico, and she remembers her horrid past and is grieving her son, drawing the sigil in the ground. While there, they're looking for the matching collar to the bracelet
Mm-hmm.
they'd stole from Warehouse 13.
13th Depository.
I know, but
Yes, I know, I
I
know.
knew you would get it.
Yes.
I knew you would
Oh,
get
yeah.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And
I have to
they
go
figure
rewatch that one after.
out it's for men. And they want to collar Rand.
Yeah.
And
There is one in the books.
I wrote in my notes, the camera cuts to a creepy shot of the child bride walking through the room while you hear Moghedien whispering about shadows.
I remember seeing Moghedien walking out carrying the teapot, It's saying softly, softly from the shadows, but I didn't remember the kid being in that scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's got a creepy look on her face, and then softly, softly.
Yeah, well, my attention was on Maggedian because Maggedian. So,
Army of Me, I tell you.
on to episode 4, The Road to the Spear. Lan
This
and Rand are practicing, and then Lan says, "And this time I'll actually try." Oh, honey, you about to get so beat. Yeah, I actually didn't have very many notes on this episode.
so many things I can't be. It would be nice to find something I can.
Yeah.
Moraine and Egwene meet with the Aiel wise woman, talk of futures. Avienda gets mad with Rand for touching swords. And then points her spear at Lan and says, You
You
too.
too. Are you offering to dance the spears with me? I mean,
Are you asking me to dance?
as
Ah,
far as last fights before you have to go off for your wise one training, eh, freaking sparring with Line, that's pretty epic. Um,
they seem to be enjoying it. It wasn't like
oh yeah.
there
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
any seriousness to it.
No,
It
no.
was fun.
Yes.
And knowing what she had said earlier about, I have to take Rand to my people, but I don't have to like it. The following scene that made it even more interesting.
Well, Line is the Aiel name for Lan. It's Old Tongue and means uh, a man alone or the man who is a people because of him being the last king of Malkier or the uncrowned king of Malkier. Um, so that they know him by reputation from the Aiel War, even though it was 20 years ago. His reputation is still that strong among them as far as being, yeah, he knows how to test the spears. And when an eel says it and says it with respect in their voice, yeah, they know how to fight.
Yeah. So Amanda has to abandon her cloak and her spears,
For Cotton's.
and Bear breaks her spears in front of her like they're twigs.
Mhm. Yeah, in
And
if
she's
I
off to
remember right,
Ruidian.
in the books, that's the point where Rand says something to her about something to the effect of, "Did you have to be that harsh?" Because he knows how much the spears mean to her. And she was like, "Yeah, you ain't a yell. Shut up and go away." It, a maiden of the spear is all Avienda has ever wanted to be from the time she could walk. I mean, it's her everything.
Well,
Um,
she says she'll be back from Ruidian by the time they
They make it
reach.
to the slopes of Shaden Hall. I believe um yeah, that's the hill outside of Redion.
And she doesn't quite make that. But she's been a maiden of the spear. This should be easy too, or she should be able to do it and handle it
So
well.
she thinks.
Yeah, she doesn't know what she's in for.
And that's the whole point and purpose.
Mm-hmm. So
Then we get to the slopes of Shaden.
bef-
These names, I mean,
yeah, no. Um, Moraine tells Rand before that she's not going to sit back and watch him put his head on the chopping block. And he's like, I have to go. I have to do this. We both know it.
yeah, it's sort of a why bother waiting? It's not going to change
We,
anything. I still have to do this.
we've we've come all the way here.
Yeah,
We just have to come
there's
back.
no point in waiting. I mean,
Yeah.
or what?
So they go and
Mm.
they run into um, the Shido, Savannah,
Savannah.
and forget the guy's name. He was a bit of a jerk.
Couladin.
Couladin. He
Mm-hmm.
gets put in his place by Bear pretty quickly.
You want to be a wise one? Well, go put on a dress and I'll see if you can be trained. Direct quote from the books.
Stop speaking while wise ones are speaking. Basically.
Shut up and sit down.
So I mean, it's been pretty obvious that Rand's got to get the Aiel on his side before he goes to get Kalendor. He needs the people of the dragon with him, his army. So, yeah, obvious. Rand asks for leave to enter Ruidian. Shida's not happy about it. Wise ones say yes. Egwene is denied entry. Moraine asks. She's permitted and told to go through the three rings. Rand will go through glass columns and walk the path of his blood ancestors.
And the wise ones actually make 2 trips to Radion. At the end of their training, they go back and they walk through the columns.
To lead is to know where you come from, to understand the blood in your veins. No weapons in Ruidian. So Moraine's pulling knives out of everywhere.
Well, than that. Yes.
Wow. They're standing there together looking at Ruidian, and Moraine says, ready?
No.
And Rand goes, no, and they start walking anyway.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Moraine can see threads of the one power in the fog. And they come to the Avendasora tree of life. Moraine talks about her uncle who killed
Layman.
Sapling.
Chopped it down.
To make a throne that couldn't be copied.
Yes.
And that started the Aiel War. And Rand's like,
Yes.
We've been tied together since before I was born. And they split ways. Rand goes and enters the columns. He sees a figure in the distance, and he thinks it's the husband of Savannah.
Couladin's brother. Yeah. I'm blanking on his name. Yeah. Straight from the book.
So he flashes to battle And the person he is in this battle is told, I found her. She's over here.
Janduin.
It was his wife, Rand's mother. She's dead. And the child is gone. He
You don't
screams,
get that in the
no.
books, but I loved that scene.
That was very emotional. From somebody who's not read one word of these books, it was very emotional.
Yeah.
Each step he takes, it's harder to go. So the next flash, he's Mandean. And he goes to Ruidian and meets with the Aes Sedai woman.
Oh, the lady with the necklace.
Yeah, like the oldest Aes Sedai in known history. She was about as old as that damn tree.
Yeah, yes,
And
actually, perhaps older. Yes.
and actually, she was older. We learn later because she's the same one from
They
further
grow
back
very slowly,
flashbacks.
so even though it's a sapling, we don't know how old it was.
Yeah, but she was alive when it was a sapling.
Yeah.
She was a full grown adult when it was a
Yeah.
sapling.
Yes.
So the chiefs are all supposed to meet in Ruidian. And the ones that don't are banished.
Would be forgotten.
Yes. The Aes Sedai want anyone who would be chief to go through these columns, learn why they are oath breakers. Mandean was like, I'll do it first. I'm not ashamed of my past. Dude, you're clawing your own eyes out 5 minutes later.
No, that's different.
No.
Different person.
Was it?
Yes.
Because it looked like him later on. Anyway,
No.
I guess I was wrong.
Oh, okay. So in the flashbacks, those people are played by the same guy playing Rand.
Oh, I know. He played like 7 different characters, including Rand, in one episode. It was kind of epic.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the one he saw tearing his eyes out was Mandean.
Muradin begins with an M. Anyway. Yeah.
The husband of Savannah.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wrong. Anyway.
She basically picks, she'll marry anyone who she thinks will be the next clan chief.
Mm.
Yeah.
So the next flash is Rand. Obviously not Rand, but looks like Rand. A young Matt type boy and a young Perrin type boy. And it spoke to me about soul bonding. Regardless of whether you're family or not, there are certain beliefs that people will reincarnate with their chosen souls, be they family or not, blood or not. So,
yeah.
So in this flash, 2 young girls of the
sisters,
the Tinkers, the
3, yeah.
Rand's sister and what we'll call Matt's sister are abducted.
Pauline and I don't remember the other one's name.
And they want to go get them back, but no violence. Everything will be okay. All will be well. Well, they go to the bandit camp and get the girls. And in the process, the Perrin character is wounded mortally, and Rand kills a man with a spear, slashes him in the face. And they come home with dead parent and the girls. The girls tell the mother, he saved us, but he killed a man. And she banishes him. Put up your dust shield. Hide
Who
your
are you that
face.
calls me mother? Hide your face from me, stranger. I had a son once with a face like that. I don't want to see it on a killer. That is straight from the books, and it is why they cover their faces before they dance the spears. Yeah. Mm. Like I said, they're doing a really great job that this season in particular of nailing it with the books. I certainly had enough bloody time to.
So they become the protectors of that branch of the Aiel family.
Hmm.
Moraine, in the meantime, finds the stone ball in
Yeah,
the tree.
that was not in the books.
We see later what it is, but she sticks it in her pocket just because, yeah, she can't.
Why not?
And then she goes to the three rings and she sees, oh God, I'm blanking on her name.
Avienda.
Avienda, thank you. She sees her suspended in the rings and screaming, and she's like, oh, this is going to be fun. She steps into the rings. Um, I saw an interview with Rosamund Pike talking about this and where the idea for the way that they're kind of floating in the rings came from.
Mhm.
She was having a massage that happens in water. You're given a little thing for your nose to keep the water out of your nose, and you're basically just flipped around. No gravity really in the water and massaged. I'm like, must be nice.
Yeah.
So that's where they got the idea for that, the way that scene looked. I lost my place in my notes. And as she enters, she sees herself fixing nets with Swan. She kills Rand. She releases the bond with Lan. Gets Rand to be her warder. Kills Lan. Over and over, all of this stuff happens. Back to Rand. Um, he's further back, and the Tinkers, for lack of a better word, are attacked. We bury our dead and we go on. What else is there?
Mhm.
They have the tree sapling.
Yeah.
And the next flash,
Well, there is that the one where some of them leave.
yeah, yeah,
That they
sorry,
go
I
off
don't
to
have that.
find the song.
Yeah,
So they are the originators of what we now know as Tinkers.
okay.
Um, they didn't remember the song, even in that memory in the books. There was a rumor of a song that brought peace, and they're off to chase that rumor,
Yeah,
the legend.
they talked about that, looking for that song in the first season
Mhm.
when Perrin and Egwene are with the Tinkers. Um,
Do you know the song?
so the next flash, the sapling and the stone Sarkanon, I think they called it. The ball, the stone ball.
I didn't catch it. But like I said, this is something new.
Uh,
Um,
Uh, I think it's what Lanfear was said she was looking for
I think
a couple
so.
of episodes back.
Um, so in the books, completely aside from Kalendor and this thing, there are two ginormous statues of a man and a woman. And then there are miniature versions, like about uh, foot or so, foot and a half tall, called Chodenkal. They're access keys. And those can be used to access those Sa'angreal.
When
And that's what the way they're talking about Kalendor and this sphere is that.
when Rand and Moraine go into
Hmm.
Ruidian, when they first come in, you can see these huge statues on either side of the gate. But just when you were talking about that, made me think of
Yeah,
them.
that's not where they were located in the
Mm.
books.
So the Aiel, the true Aiel, are sent out with the saplings and the Sarkennen. That's what the name of it was, um, and told to keep their oath. And they said they would.
Hmm.
In the next flash, even further back, Rand's character meets, oh God, I can't even read my own writing. Merida?
Merida.
Merida Sedai,
Hmm.
who has an interesting face because she's freaking Lanfear.
Yes.
Um,
She isn't known by that name yet, but yes,
before
that
the world was broken, she's the one that broke it,
is. She and her team of scientists. Yes.
pierced through the thinnest part of the pattern.
That is called the Boar.
Mhm. Um, she claimed that it would maybe let the one power be accessible to everyone.
Yes. And for those who can for those who are allowed to wield true power, that is true. But you have to literally make a deal with the devil before you're even in consideration to be allowed. And back in season one, when no, sorry, season two, when um after Moraine stabs Lanfear, and it's when Lanfear kills the guy in the stable. You see black dots move across her eyes. Those are called Saw. That happens when you've been channeling the true power for a minute. And if you're allowed to channel the true power, that means you're on his good side.
Ah,
So, yeah.
so we see Rand's character and
Mhm.
Lanfear talking. She explains what's going on with the research and the boar, and she's like, "Go and enjoy your family." So we cut to Rand on the ground with the sigh and the singing, and everything's happy. And then all of a sudden, the orb that looks like a tiny Death Star goes poof, and we see a breaking, a cracking. I kept waiting for the eye of
Exactly.
Sauron. I kept waiting for the eye of Sauron to pop out. I'm sorry, but showing the breaking of the world and how that happened. After that, Rand collapses in the real world, or Ruidian, and his tattoos start to appear. He finds Avienda, and she sees the marks, and she's not happy.
Yeah.
You think you know
Before
some.
she, maybe he isn't. You know, maybe this is a false alarm. She can't do that no more. Mhm.
You think you know something now. And Rand says, I understand enough to know I'll never fully understand. And she's like, well, let's go. And he's like, nope, I can't leave without Moraine.
Yeah.
She was still in the rings.
And she hasn't been through the columns yet, so she doesn't understand how much he does understand. So, yeah.
She will.
Yeah.
So Rand waits under the tree for Moraine. And we cut to Lan and Egwene, and they're like, Avienda's been back for 2 days. It's been 7 days. Are they going to come back? And dawn breaks on the seventh day. Very,
Um,
very biblical. Very biblical.
oh yeah. In a tradition says you wait 9 days, I believe it is.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, it was 7 days
yeah,
at the crack of dawn.
yeah. He who comes with the dawn.
Rand comes out carrying Moraine, and that experience obviously has bonded them. I didn't talk about Moraine's flashes too much, but there was a lot of death, a lot of destruction, a lot of
A
Moraine
lot of
dying.
Lanfear killing her.
Yeah, I was saying a lot of Moraine dying. Lanfear kills her the same way almost every time. Stabs her and cuts her throat, which is exactly what Moraine did to Lanfear. There
Right?
was only one time that Lanfear killed her that was different, and that was when she was bedding Lanfear.
Mm.
Lanfear gets on top of her and starts strangling her. But every other time it was stab and slice.
We don't get what she sees in the rings in the books. She chooses to share a little bit, but yeah. So this was cool getting to see this.
Well, we've seen in the preview or the trailer,
Mm-hmm.
Moraine says, if the White Tower doesn't bend the knee to Rand al'Thor,
Yeah,
we will all
all
die. So we know what she's going to say coming out of this, but
yeah.
it
Uh,
was wild. One of her flashes did, we talked about it the other day, it did show all of the kids,
you can't
Moghedien,
fight us all, Moraine.
Lanfear,
Yes, I caught it on my rewatch.
all forsaken, dressed out. It was wild. I
Mm.
saw an interview with Rafe, and he talked about going to the costume designer and the hair and makeup
But
people.
hang on in a
We need to
second.
do this, and they're like, oh, we have to put them all in Forsaken gear. And he's like, yep. And they're like, yes, let's do it.
Hey.
Excuse me. If you go back and watch, you even see Perrin with the big gold ring.
Huh. Okay. Yeah,
There's a
there was a longer pause on Rand, Egwene, and Nynaeve over on the right than there was, and there were more people than the Emond's Field Five. So I didn't pause it
Moghedien,
on that.
Lanfear were there.
Okay.
If there were other people, I didn't note them.
Yeah, I
But
saw Perrin over on the other side, but
yeah, there's just a
like I said, it was
brief snippet where you see Perrin's hand and he's wearing the Forsaken big rubber bandy looking golden ring. I still want one.
rubber candy. Uh-huh.
That's what it looks like.
No. Mhm. And now that you say that, we're gonna see it the same way again.
You're welcome. I try. What are big sisters for?
So, finishing thoughts.
I honestly can't wait till Thursday. I will be watching the show as soon as I can, as soon as it drops. Well, I won't be watching as soon as it drops because that's like,
And it'll be 3 in the morning.
yeah, like 3 in the morning. But as soon as I get my son off to school and get back from the bus on Friday morning, no waiting. No waiting at all.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely looking forward to it because um I'll be interested to see if Couladin goes in with or without approval.
Mm, that could be ugly. Oh, I mentioned before the intro music was backwards, and so was the
Hmm,
theme,
the
the
music
snake.
too.
Yeah, they. I went back and watched it again. The music is kind of backwards, and so is the snake scene. Instead of it turning clockwise, it's
Mm,
counterclockwise because they were going
makes
back
sense
in
because
time.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, just really cool when they play with stuff like that.
Yeah. And I liked that Tam, Abel, and Mayor, blanking on his name, that they got parents' family out. I liked that. It happens differently in the books. Of course, there are other factors that I won't spoil it if you actually want to read the books. Are you? Oh, dang it.